Thank you all for being here today. This isn't a subject that is extremely dear to all of our hearts. And we're here today because many families in Nassau County are still living through this devastating crisis, which is called the opioid crisis. Nassau County won a lawsuit and we received settlement funds, which were secured to help fix this problem that everyone is living through. It's supposed to be for treatment, for education, and prevention, which is very important because what the families go through, if their loved one survives even, it is just absolutely devastating. So, as of right now, the county has received more than $95 million in these settlements from various pharmaceutical companies. However, less than 13% has been spent in almost 5 years. We're in the 5th year right now. At the same time, which might sound like a minor point, but this is something that really resonates to me, the interest that has been accruing on this money that's in an account has now been transferred. It was actually transferred before, but now it's transferred again. And the amount that's been transferred into the general fund is also about $13 million, which is similar to what's been given out. So today, I'm very upset about the fact that this money has been transferred. We've been told again over and over it could not be transferred to the general fund, and it was. That means this administration can use the interest on anything that they wish, that they feel that they want to use. And I think this is I'm taking it personally. It was an insult to us to have people tell us it couldn't happen, and it did. And it's another crisis and another way of being disrespectful to these families that are dealing with so much. So I want to now introduce a legislator who has come on and has really taken this as her cause, and she has taken the time to correct this situation, and I'd like to thank her for that, and I'd like to introduce Legislator Olena next.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As a first responder, I have witnessed how quickly addiction can take a hold and the devastation that overdoses cause for individuals and families alike. I've been in situations when every second mattered and where access to treatment, education, and prevention resources could have changed the outcome entirely. That is why the opioid settlement funds must be treated with urgency and purpose. These dollars were secured to help communities respond to a public health emergency, one that is still unfolding right now. And yet only a small fraction of that funding has reached the programs that are working on the ground to prevent overdoses and support recovery. And at the same time, as Legislator DeRiggi-Whiton mentioned, $13.7 million in interest was moved out of the opioid settlement account. And that raises some serious questions. Are we moving quickly enough to meet the needs of the residents who are struggling? And are we honoring the intent of these funds? The legislation that I am introducing today will establish permanent safeguards to ensure that opioid settlement funds, including all interest earned, remain dedicated to prevention, treatment, recovery, and education. It will also strengthen transparency so that the public can see exactly how these life-saving resources are being used. We need a coordinated investment in community outreach, treatment access, recovery, support, and education. We need to support the first responders, the health professionals, and the service providers who are confronting this crisis every single day. And most importantly, we need to act now, because addiction does not wait, and neither should we. We are calling for the immediate restoration of the $13.7 million so that these funds can be put to saving lives. This crisis is not only measured in statistics, it is measured in the lives of families who have lost loved ones. I now want to introduce you to Larry Lamondola.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me here today. I want to state at the outset that I am not compensated by anyone. September 19th, 2019 was the most devastating day in my life. At a little after 9 o'clock in the morning, I went to my daughter's room and I found her lifeless body. Lisa had died from fentanyl. I want to bring out a picture of Lisa, poster.
Can you hold it up for a second? Just hold it up.
Lisa was my youngest daughter. I just want to, not focusing in on Lisa for a moment, I just want to focus in on those that suffer from substance. It's not a moral failing. We treat people with cancer and heart disease differently than we do from people that suffer from substance misuse. It's an illness, and I think the stigma has to be erased today and forever. I want to talk to you a little bit about Lisa now. Lisa was not a valedictorian. She was a 90 student. She had aspirations like everybody else in life. She died at the age of 25. I recall Lisa's third rehab in Florida. She called me up. She said, "Dad, how you doing? I'm glad you're doing good, Lisa. You doing all right?" "Yeah, I met this girl here. I made friends with her. And she went home." I said, "Well, why?" "She was only here on scholarship." Now, I talk about that because what's happening now in the United States of America with Medicaid especially, imagine that young lady, she probably, and I would hope she got some help from Medicaid. The opioid settlement money is a lifeboat. And it's a lifeboat for those individuals who were on Medicaid and in the future probably no longer receiving Medicaid. After Lisa passed, I joined the Levittown Community Action Coalition, which in a nutshell helps parents and individuals in the community to stave off the ravages of substance and for children to grow up healthy. It's been 7 years. The opioid settlement money came out. Some things have been done and done well. The CN Guidance Center in Hicksville, that's wonderful. I applaud that. But more can be done and more should be done. I heard the word urgency used. There should be alarm bells going off. I just want to briefly mention a New York Times article yesterday that I read where the next nightmare is right around the corner. We should all be aware of this with eyes wide open. It's called nitazene. Nitazene is a synthetic opioid. There is legislation in Congress. Congressman Swazi's office contacted me about it. I believe it's HR 5415 if it comes to mind. But folks, it doesn't take just government. It takes a community. It takes a neighborhood. We all have to get on board with this. County Executive Blakeman, put back that money. That's blood money. This is wrong to take any interest from the opioid settlement money and use it in the general fund. Please do it in memory of my dear Lisa and those who have fallen as a result of substance. Thank you very much for your time today.
Sir, can I have your name and your spelling of your name first?
It's Larry Lamendola, Lamendola.
Good morning. I think this is an issue of transparency. And this is also an issue of making this a priority. The fact of the matter is that this was done in a backhanded way so that the public wouldn't be aware of what's going on. These resources in the opioid settlement, the only investment that they should be is an investment for the community that needs it the most. It should not be utilized for an investment to pad the general fund. That is not what these resources and that settlement was generated for. And in fact, this was an issue that came up very recently in the legislative budget hearings in October of this year, when I specifically asked of the administration from the Director of Management and Budget the following question with the following answer. Question: that $86 million can only be used for the limited purpose of opioid prevention, etc. Answer: that is correct. It can't be used for anything else, right? Answer: no. And that is not what's happening. And that's the problem. There's no transparency. This is not being prioritized, and it's doing it behind the curtain of government. I thank you.
Sir, can you identify yourself, please?
Legislator Scott Davis, Legislative District Number 1.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm Legislator Arnie Drucker. These settlement funds were secured through years of litigation because the opioid epidemic devastated communities and was and still is an epidemic that demands immediate attention. Residents were told this money would be used to expand treatment and prevent overdoses. Instead, we see funding delayed and interest earnings shifted into the general budget. That is not what this money was intended and constitutes a betrayal by this administration of its sworn obligation. As a result, this administration undermines public confidence and raises real concerns about priorities which are rather transparent. These dollars must be restored and used exactly as intended to fight addiction and save lives. When funding meant to combat public health crises sits unused, families are left wondering why help is not reaching them. We must and can and should do better. Thank you.
And I want to be very clear that this is about restoring funding that was meant to save lives. This is about protecting opioid settlement resources moving forward. This is about urgency, transparency, and accountability. And we stand with the families who are still grieving. Larry, our hearts are with you. We stand with the first responders and treatment providers on the front lines. And we stand united in demanding action. The opioid crisis is still taking lives to this day. And the funding to fight and use it must be put to work now. Thank you all for being here. Any questions?
So to be clear, obviously millions have not been spent that's available. What is your understanding about what the holdup is? Is it a voluntary decision by the county executive's office to park the money to have better borrowing rates, interest rates?
We've gone on record a number of times requesting for the funds to be used. And unfortunately, we have not received a clear answer. We have also submitted a formal letter to the administration requesting for accountability and transparency to get an understanding of why the funds have not been moved forward and what the delays may be. And unfortunately, we have not received a response, and I believe Legislator DeRiggi-Whiton has something to add.
I just want to fill in a couple of points. When this settlement was done, they did describe what the actual money could be used for, but they didn't put an end date on the time where the funding has to go out. When we had the money that was given to us for the COVID recovery, there was an end date for the date that had to be allocated and then the date that the money had to go out the door. Unfortunately, I believe the people that wrote the settlement didn't feel that it was necessary to do that type of restrictions because they figured that everyone knows that this is a crisis and we're going to get the money out as soon as possible, and that's what other counties did. How does this money benefit the county? It helps in our bond rating because it's in the reserves. it cannot be spent for anything other than opioid money, but it still gets the same credit for the county having savings or reserves. So that is helping our Moody's rating. How else does it help? Right now, we just saw an example of all of this interest, $13 million, now going into Bruce Blakeman's fund to do whatever he wishes, whether it's outside counsel or God knows what else he can think of. But there's no restriction now that it's being moved. And again, we have asked for years what happened with the interest, and we were always told on time and time again that it remained in the line, and it is not. We have proof of that. And to answer your question also, this is a decision not to move forward. We spent $1 million on a company that's supposed to help us get this money out quicker. I'm not impressed so far. I haven't seen much. I don't think it's a priority, and it has to be a priority. We just thank these families that have the courage to come up and tell their personal stories. Let me tell you, as legislators, we are also called on numerous occasions from all different families that have tried so hard. Lisa was in rehab, 6 times? I know families that have spent all of their savings, lost their homes trying to help their kids. So this is still ongoing. It's still an emergency, and I just really need either Bruce Blakeman or someone from that administration to recognize that it is a crisis and to move forward. And allocating money is not enough. It actually has to be sent out.
I think over the years they've said that they were vetting companies to go.
Yeah.
To see where money is going, but
Meanwhile, they don't vet the outside counsel as much, in my opinion, because they're spending $30 million a year on outside legal counsel where it used to be $5 million. So why is it that they're being, look, we have to be careful. I'm all for that. But it seems to me that they're really choosing this money to be extremely, they're not addressing it. And it doesn't line up with the way they treat other money.
can I just follow up?
Sure.
Is it a one-time $13.7 million that's been moved, or has it been?
It's the second time it happened.
Because that's a lot of money. It's $95 million was at the beginning. So $13.7 million is, you're looking
Nice
at a high
percentage.
percentage.
It's a big, well, it's all the interest that we're getting a lot of interest right now, which is why.
Compounded over the years that it sits in the fund,
Yeah.
or?
And now they just transferred
It's
it.
supposed to have been growing interest in that fund for the obvious purpose. And what's offensive to us is that this really represents a betrayal by the administration of its commitment for this life-saving opportunity. These opportunities don't come around very often. And the administration made a commitment to us, to everybody, to the taxpayers and the residents of Nassau County, and they're violating it and they're betraying it. That's offensive to us, and it's going to cost lives.
So just to clarify, the 13.69, that is that the second time, or is that?
Yes.
Is that the total
So,
of?
It's the total amount of interest that was moved, so funding was moved in 2024 and in 2025. Roughly about $3.3 million in 2024, and then another $8.5 in 2025.
And to be clear, the money that has been used to pad the general fund, the $13 million in interest, is approximately the same amount of money that's been utilized to provide services to the community in 5 years. We received this money in 2020, 2021, and that's the amount of money that's been used.
And to Legislator Davis's point, there is a fiscal conduit that we have, the legislature approved to pay funding to, who's supposed to be responsible for getting these funds out. And we, I believe recently in November, December, we approved another, I think it was close to $1 million to this firm so that they could continue working to renew their contract for another year. So we have also called for the transparency to see what exactly their efforts are in getting the funding and alerting the programs who are on the ground working. What is the process for alerting them that the funds are available?
What's the consulting firm that's been
I
hired?
believe it's called Haggerty. Haggerty.
H-A-G-E-R-T-Y?
Mm-hmm.
And can I just add, we've all are very active in this cause, and we've all attended many breakfasts and updates, and the message is the same for each group. They're losing federal funding. They're going to have to lay people off. This is, all of these incredible institutions in Nassau County that are helping these people are in dire straits of this money, and we still can't get it out the door to them. It's probably the worst thing I've seen as an elected official for 20 years.
Administration says that opioid over the
Yes.
years. So clearly some of the message is getting out and some money is being out, but how would you address the fact that maybe if more money was coming out, that there would be even possibly less?
I think we can be very frank in saying this, one death is too many. So to say that deaths are down is unacceptable. We are, we're happy that there is progress being made, but there is still a crisis out there. And again, one life is too many loss. And if we have the resources, which we do and plenty of it, we need to make sure that it gets out.
All these monies, it's all lands in the executive to dish out?
Yeah, and it's up to the Haggerty firm to, they're responsible for making sure it gets distributed.
I assume they're vetting these organizations that are applying for these grants, kind of things that they're...
We would also assume we have not received any concrete information about how they're moving it forward. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Small issue, and one of them is the test strips. So we requested $10,000 to put test strips in with our NORCAN training, and they won't even consider that. So we've submitted that piece of legislation on numerous occasions. $10,000 would buy 10,000 strips. It's a possibility we could save one or however many lives we could save with that. I think we did that 4 years ago. I still can't get the
It's
$10,000.
indicative of the administration's priorities.
Are they required to put down on paper where the money goes to, like this interest money is now moved into a general fund?
Well-
It's not like it is reserve fund or no?
No.
It's just general?
It's in a reserve, it's in a fund now, which they're using towards the reserves.
It's been a
But-
dedicated fund.
Right, but the interest has now been moved, and it is documented, we have it all documented, to the general fund, which now can be used for
Any
anything
purpose.
that the county executive feels like using it for, within the scope of government work, but basically.
The longer that they do not spend the money, the more interest piles on, and then they can take it out in the future. And then Scott, you mentioned that exchange of where if you take the money out. Was
I
that
think-
discussing
do you have that,
interest, or was it
Michelle?
discussing-
So that was,
have
that was at the legislative budget hearings, and it was a very specific question regarding how that money could be used. And the indication was that those resources were allocated specifically and solely for opioid treatment and everything that goes along with that.
But that's really specifically the 95 million, right? Was there any conversation about the interest itself? I'm not putting you on the spot. It seems like-
It wasn't supposed to be a windfall for the county to take the interest from that dedicated purpose and use it for any other budget problems they have. That was not the intended purpose.
I know I've asked on the record, as well as other legislators.
Well, actually, there is.
There we go.
So there was a question, there was 7 million approximately paid in the opioid fund. Do you know where that interest went? The administration. That stays in the fund. That was Andy Persick from the administration. He is he is the Director of Management and Budget for the administration. I'm sorry? This was 2026.
25.
25.
Over 25.
October 2025.
Budget hearing for this year.
It's a transcript,
We have the
actually.
transcript. Thank you all.
That was said before the first,
That was
after
at,
the first meeting.
before this one and after the,
In the middle, so the fund was already moved. He said
Correct.
The fund moved again.
and that was at the legislative budget review hearings.
A subject that is extremely, extremely dear